ever feel like, you're only getting like one side of the story?
It can definitely feel that way.
Well, on today's deep dive, we are going straight to the source. Springfield City Commission meeting minutes
Oh, wow.
from September 10th and 24th. And let me tell you, these minutes are just bursting with citizen comments.
Really?
Oh, yeah, tons of them on all sorts of topics.
That's interesting.
Clearly, people in Springfield, they have a lot on their minds these days.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Because, like, where else do people, get a chance to actually make their voices heard by the people in charge?
Right. It's like listening in on the heartbeat of the city. What's it telling us? What are people fired up about? So, like, what were the hot button issues that you noticed? What were people talking about in these meetings?
So, immediately, immigration emerged as, like, a major theme.
Yeah, makes sense. It's been in the headlines a lot lately.
Yeah, and it's not just, like, the national conversation, right? It's impacting Springfield directly.
Yeah.
The influx of new residents, especially from Haiti, has folks concerned about a bunch of things: housing, job markets,
Well, I bet. Yeah.
even, like, very specific concerns,
Yeah.
like driver's education.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I remember one resident even proposed something called Kathy's Law, right? To like push for more driver training. Seemed like that really struck a nerve with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of nerves, safety was another big one that came up a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about, like, statistics or crime rates.
Right.
It's the personal stories.
Yeah.
Those are what really hit home. Like residents sharing their fears about just like their personal safety, questioning the police response times.
Yeah, how safe they feel walking down the street.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there were definitely anxieties about gun violence, too. People are worried.
Yeah, and understandably so.
Yeah, I mean, one resident even said she was afraid to leave her house, and that plea from the man whose mother was tragically killed in that hit and run.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Heartbreaking, really emphasized the need for better driver education, better enforcement on the roads.
Yeah, it really brings it home, right? Those personal stories, they highlight the human impact of these issues in a
Yeah.
way that headlines just can't capture.
Totally. And then, of course, there's the issue of homelessness. Another topic that brought out some really strong opinions. You had residents demanding action, questioning what the city is already doing, what they're planning to do, especially with winter coming.
Yeah, that sense of urgency definitely came through in a lot of the comments.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't just, asking for a handout, right?
Mhm.
They want to see real solutions, long-term solutions.
Exactly.
Something that actually addresses the root causes.
It's not just about like putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
Right.
People want to see real change.
Exactly.
And it's not just about adults either, There was a lot of concern about the well-being of Springfield's young people, too, People worried about, like, the lack of activities for kids in Springfield, exposure to drugs and violence. There's a real desire for more support programs, more things for young people to do.
Yeah, that really stood out to me, too, reading through all this. It's like that concern for the next generation.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes,
Mm-hmm.
about what this community really values.
For sure.
It's not just about, getting by in the here and now. It's about making sure Springfield is a place where kids can thrive.
Yeah, building a better future.
Exactly.
It's really kind of paints this picture of a community at a crossroads, We're facing
Yeah.
some real challenges here in Springfield, but also looking for solutions.
Right, exactly. It's like it's a time of uncertainty, but
Mhm.
also a time of real opportunity. Like, how is the city going to respond to all of this?
Yeah, right. It's because it's one thing to voice these concerns, but what is the city commission actually doing to address them? Like, what are they doing about all this?
Well, that's where we move, from those voices, those concerns,
Right.
into like the realm of policy and action.
Okay.
And we start to see, how is the city commission actually grappling with these multifaceted challenges?
Right, because it's one thing to voice your concerns at a meeting, but what are they actually going to do about it? So let's break it down issue by issue.
Okay.
Starting with the hot topic, right?
Right.
Immigration. What did they have to say about that?
So Mayor Rue, he actually addressed it head on.
He did.
He did. He acknowledged the community's anxieties, especially regarding, the influx of Haitian residents.
Yeah.
And he really emphasized the city's efforts to try to secure state and federal resources,
Mm.
to help kind of facilitate smoother integration, make sure things are
So like actually trying to get money to like make programs and stuff.
exactly
Yeah.
to make those resources available.
Yeah.
But there was this one interesting thing.
That's it.
There was this mention of something called first diversity.
First diversity.
First diversity. And they mentioned an ongoing investigation into their practices.
They didn't like elaborate on what that was about at all.
No, not really. It was
Wow.
it was kind of a cliffhanger.
Interesting. Okay. So like mysterious, we don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is this first diversity, or are they somehow connected to this influx of residents?
Yeah.
And what kind of practices are under scrutiny? It definitely it piques your curiosity.
Yeah, for sure. Something to keep an eye on. All right. So immigration. Big topic, lots of questions there still. What about safety? Because I know we talked about those really heartfelt pleas from people like really worried about safety in Springfield.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like, Governor DeWine, maybe he was listening, because he authorized this kind of like traffic enforcement surge.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Like because of these meters?
It seems like it seemed like a very quick response to that public outcry. And the results were, well, I guess you could say they were noticeable. 337 traffic stops,
Wow.
12 OVI arrests,
Dang, in like what? Like a week or something?
just in a matter of days.
Wow. That's gotta that's gotta send a message, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, they are taking these concerns seriously.
Yeah.
But it also, it raises questions too, like, can they keep that up?
Yeah.
Can they keep up that level of enforcement long term? And what does it mean for other police priorities?
Yeah.
It's a balancing act for sure.
Totally. And speaking of balancing acts, Police Chief Elliott, he was actually pretty upfront about the staffing challenges they're facing, right? Like they don't have enough officers. And he was even saying that like, yeah, that does impact how quickly they can respond to calls.
Yeah, I mean, honesty goes a long way, right? Like,
Yeah.
just be upfront
Yeah.
about, the limitations.
For sure.
Especially when people are feeling, anxious. They need that transparency. They need that communication.
Right, exactly. It's like don't try to pretend that everything's fine if it's not.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about homelessness? Because we talked about that, another one where people were like really like urging the city to take action.
Yeah, and it seemed like City Manager Heck was really aware of that urgency, especially with winter coming up.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about partnerships with local organizations like Sheltered Inc., the Salvation Army.
Yeah, those groups that are like already on the ground doing the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he didn't just talk about collaboration. Like, they actually put some timelines on things.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. New affordable housing units, they're saying those are projected to be ready by the end of the year.
Wow, that's good news.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're someone who's facing homelessness right now, that's got to be
Yeah.
music to your ears.
Sign of hope. Okay, that's good. And then finally, what about the youth? All those concerns about kids in Springfield.
Right. So the city commission, they highlighted the youth programs and partnerships that are already in place,
Okay.
really emphasizing this multi-pronged approach, trying to tackle it from all sides. They did mention this one thing that I thought was kind of interesting. They brought up the state law that requires schools to educate adults up to like age 22.
Okay. I mean, that's good to know, I guess.
It's like, how relevant is that, to these immediate needs that people are talking about?
Wait, what does that have to do with like a 12-year-old who's, getting in trouble right now?
Exactly. So it was a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
But they did also talk about, the work of the Gun Violence Task Force, the community outreach programs.
Okay, good. So they are trying to actually address it.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They're trying to address the root causes.
It's just, sometimes these things take time.
They do. They
Mhm.
absolutely do. And it's complicated.
Yeah.
Like, there's no easy answers.
It seems like the city commission, they've got their work cut out for
Oh,
them.
for sure. They're juggling a lot.
Yeah.
They're dealing with, these immediate crises, these long-term challenges.
Trying to make everybody happy,
Exactly.
which is impossible, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's really fascinating though to get this kind of like behind the scenes look
Absolutely.
at like what it actually takes to run a city.
It's like, it's one thing to, read the headlines or even just, listen to people's concerns, but to actually see how those concerns then get translated into action.
Right.
Or sometimes inaction. It's a fascinating process.
And it's messy, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's not like, a straight line from A to B.
Not at all.
It's
I know.
it's complicated.
Very much so.
The whole journey. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to dive into some of the you mentioned that they're dealing with all this stuff. They're also dealing with like the nuts and bolts of like keeping the city running, the day to day
Stuff we don't always think about.
Yeah, what does that look like? We'll talk about that and more when we come back. It's like, they're managing this whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
You've got like the big picture stuff, right? Like
Right.
immigration, homelessness, but then they've also got to keep the lights on. Right?
Keep the city running.
So, the day-to-day stuff, what does that actually look like?
Well, yeah, those details, they might not, make the front page,
Right.
but they're so essential
Totally.
to like a city's well-being,
For sure.
Like, for instance, there was the approval of a brand new fire station.
Oh, yeah?
And it wasn't just like yep, sounds good.
Right.
This is a $7.5 million project.
Wow.
They're talking about the funding breakdown,
Okay.
construction timelines.
Wow, the whole 9 yards.
But they'll even mention, like, the nonprofit that's going to be sharing the space.
Oh, interesting. A nonprofit working out of the fire station. What's that about?
Well, they don't really elaborate in the minutes,
Okay.
but it's kind of cool to think about, right? Like, what kind of, like, partnerships are happening.
Right, behind the scenes?
Maybe it's a way to, like, maximize their resources.
Yeah.
Address multiple community needs at once.
Right, get more bang for your buck, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It actually sparks your curiosity.
for sure. Speaking of things that, like, you might not always think about,
Right.
the day-to-day stuff,
Mhm.
bag-to-leaf pickup,
Yeah.
made it on the agenda.
The unsung heroes of autumn.
Right. Like, they've got to deal with that, too.
But in all seriousness, it shows how, like, they really are responsible for everything.
Yeah.
All those little quality of life services that we rely on,
Right.
And it's not cheap.
Yeah. How much does that cost?
Over $77,000.
For just to pick up leaves.
Yeah, pick up everybody's leaves, yeah.
I guess that adds up. Huh.
It does.
It's like the city is a living, breathing,
It really is, with
It-
all these different
it's
systems.
a whole organism.
Exactly.
All these moving parts.
And just like any organism, it needs constant upkeep.
Right?
We got to keep it healthy, keep it running,
Exactly.
and that's where those nuisance abatement contracts come in.
Right. Right.
So, they're approving these contracts
Mhm.
for property cleanup, demolition, all that stuff.
Keep it looking good.
Exactly. It might not be glamorous,
Right.
but it's crucial, right?
Yeah.
To like maintain a safe,
For sure.
attractive environment.
Yeah, nobody wants to live in a dump.
Exactly.
All right, so it's all connected.
It really is.
That's kind of what we've
So
learned.
connected.
Addressing the small stuff
Hmm.
actually helps with the big picture stuff.
Exactly.
Because it all like feeds into each other.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting.
And that's what's so cool about, these deep dives that we do.
Yeah.
Getting into these meetings, looking at the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
we get the full picture
It's full story.
from those voices, the people who are like really hurting, to the way the city's responding, and then just the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about those concerns about immigration, the need for better safety, homelessness, the youth.
It's a lot.
It's a lot going on in Springfield.
It's a microcosm, really.
Right. But we also saw how the city is trying to respond to that stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's, getting more resources, starting new programs, or just like, keeping the lights on,
Keeping the wheels turning.
taking out the trash,
Exactly.
all that.
All the important stuff.
It's a big job
Yeah.
running a city. But we're left with questions.
always
There's always more to learn. Like, what is the deal with first diversity.
Yeah, what is that about?
What's going on with that? Are these new solutions for homelessness really going to be enough?
Yeah.
Like, is it going to make a difference? Can they actually keep writing all those speeding tickets?
Right, is that sustainable?
So many questions.
That's what keeps it interesting, right?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
That's the thing about local government, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like this far off thing.
It's happening right here.
It's happening right here. It's always changing.
Right in our backyards.
And we all have a front row seat
We do.
to the whole thing.
And we have a voice.
That's the most important part.
We can be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, these meetings, these minutes, they're not just like boring documents.
Right.
They're invitations
Have a way in.
to get involved, to question, to make things better.
To make a difference.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, I say, this deep dive, this isn't the end.
Don't let it be.
This is like the beginning, right?
Right.
Go out there, do your own research.
Check out the city website.
A city's website has all this stuff, all these minutes, schedules.
Answers to questions that people have submitted.
Go to the meetings.
Yeah, why not?
See what's going on.
See for yourself.
Because at the end of the day, you know, we live in Springfield.
This is our community.
And we have a stake in its future.
Absolutely.
So
Get involved.
And who knows?
What could happen?
Maybe we'll be back for another deep dive into the inner workings of Springfield very soon.
Springfield's got a lot more stories to tell.
Until then, stay curious out there.